Okay, so this is a presentation on the integration of Salesforce data with using AppFlow and AWS. AppFlow is a SaaS to SaaS managed solution to integrate external SaaS data with Amazon data and processes. Um, so we're going to be showing you how to ingest Salesforce data using AppFlow. And this video is brought to you by Home Task AI. My name is Steve Bonacontri, and let's move forward. So this is a diagram I took from AWS. It basically shows you that you could have different SaaS solutions, and you could ingest data using AppFlow to uh, 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 other SaaS solutions or managed services. So in this particular case, I'm going to be looking at Salesforce. I'm going to be sending event data to AppFlow, and I could just pass through the data and put it to S3 bucket, or I could mask PII data and redact some of the PII information for compliance and put it in the S3 bucket. I am encrypting my data in S3 bucket. I'm using encryption and API keys throughout my process. So uh, I have to decide what I want to do and when I want to do it. Now, once we take Salesforce and we put the data through and dump it to S3, what we could do is take AppFlow and take the data off of S3 and filter it and put it back to S3. Not that you'd want to do it that way. You have the opportunity in any flow to do this filtering and validation, but you might not know it at the time. So, and of course, uh, destinations here. There's also an Amazon Connect destination here with customer profiles, and you'll find we'll take a look at that too. But I'll just keep in mind that we're trying to integrate data, and Amazon AppFlow is fantastic. Now, there's out of the box sources and destinations, and if you need to develop a connector that's not available, you can do that. Now, there's over 80 connectors, so but it's true that if I'm looking to dump my Salesforce contacts into DynamoDB, I don't have that connector yet. So but then again, I could take my Salesforce data and put it to S3 and trigger it and Lambda and put that into DynamoDB. So there's things I could do. But where is all this? There's plenty of connectors that exist. I saw Amazon creating a JDBC connector for MySQL, Aurora, and that's not listed here. But I was questioning why not? I don't want to develop anything anyway. But the point is that if I need to dump data, contact data from Salesforce into DynamoDB, I'll be looking for a connector. And if I can't find it, I could build a custom connector. Um, and so keep that in mind. Okay, so let's look at the architecture real quick. What we're going to do is show you a couple of flows. So first of all, one of my main objectives was to uh, see how AppFlow works. So I wanted to take a Salesforce data, and I have accounts and I have contact objects in Salesforce, and I just created a demo account, and I'm adding contacts, and I'm seeing what's happening as I modify contacts and I add contacts. So what I do is in AppFlow is I create a flow. What I want is those records, those contact records. I want AppFlow to receive them. So it's gonna authenticate with Salesforce, and it's going to use its connector to get the events from Salesforce. And then what it's going to do is it's going to come down and put that data into a bucket. And I called it Salesforce Contacts bucket. And I did a pass through. So it's like, okay, give me all the data from the object in Salesforce and just put it on the S3 bucket. Because I really didn't know what I needed yet. And so I just said, give me as is. Um, Now what I could do is I could create a flow two, and a flow two could say, okay, I could go into AppFlow and create flow two, and that's going to pull the data from the Salesforce contacts and filter it and pump it back into a filtered bucket if I want to do that. Like I said, I had the option to do the filtering initially, but something told me I want the whole contact record. And if I create the account and I create the account events and the app flow for the accounts, I'd want whole account objects and any changes made into my system. So I'd probably dump that to S3 as well. Now, now there are other options. Once you get the data in S3, you could use Glue and Athena to query, and you can create a data catalog, etc. That's typical. So the question is, maybe I want to use this filtered for the glue. I don't know. And when you trigger a put into S3, you could have a Lambda get triggered, and you could pump that data into DynamoDB if you want. Um, Now, AppFlow also can push data to EventBridge, and you could vote a Lambda that puts it into DynamoDB as well. Um, and so since AppFlow's managed service and EventBridge operates in the same account and allows the account managed services to access EventBridge, this is pretty easy to happen because it's pretty open for internal managed services. Okay, so then I noticed there was an Amazon Connect flow that you can create. And so what you could do is get the Salesforce objects and put them and take the events into AppFlow, and then put the events to Amazon Connect into customer profiles. So that was using Amazon Connect as a destination. So we're going to look at a couple of these things. To be quite honest with you, Amazon Connect, when you activate customer profiles, implicitly you don't know it, but it's already creating the AppFlow flow. So you won't even know it when you're activating customer profiles. But if you go to AppFlow, you'll see there was a customer profile um, flow that was automatically created. Okay, so this is simple, yet let's see it. Let me see if I could go to my console now. Um, yeah, let me just go to my console. What is this? Okay, where's my console? Okay, so let's do this. So right now um, uh, I am in AppFlow, and I noticed I have this customer profiles, my domain Salesforce contact. This is something that Amazon Connect created when I created the Amazon Connect, when I activated customer profiles in Amazon Connect. So what's involved in this? Well, I define a connector. I am logged in to Salesforce here, and I have some contacts. These are my contact objects that I created. Here's the emails and the phone numbers. So the way I use this with Amazon Connect is I call in with my phone number. And Amazon Connect uses the agent workspace to bring up my profile because I've got customer profiles activated, and it's going to bring up the customer profile of the caller. So I will have, as an agent, I'll have access to all this information integrated at the glass when the customer calls in and I receive the call. Okay, let's forget about that for the moment. But I do want to tell you that AppFlow uses a connector, and that connector is authenticated with uh, Salesforce. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a flow, and I'm going to show you that. And you could just ignore this for the moment. I'm going to create a new flow, and just to show you first, there's connectors. there's all of these connectors I could use, and some of them are source and some of them are destination. And, and notice I have source and destination Amazon S3, so I could pull from S3, filter, and push back to S3. And if you look, there's a wide variety of connectors, including an Amazon Connect. This is a destination. This is going to the destination of Amazon Connect. So I don't need to register a new connector. I already have one, but if you look at Salesforce, there's built-in connectors. This is a custom connector. So what is a custom connector? What's a built-in connector? Amazon creates this built-in connector. If there is something that a group needs, whether it's Amazon or not, and they just want to create a custom connector to integrate Salesforce with um, AppFlow, then they could create it and call it a custom connector. Or if they officially release this to customers, it might be wind up calling a built-in connector. Let's not make too much confusion out of this. So I'm going to assume I have a connector. Now I do have a connector. The reason why I have a connector is with Amazon Connect, I use custom profiles and I authenticated with Salesforce, and I was trying to retrieve my records and have them all these events propagate into my customer profiles in Amazon Connect so that when a user calls, the agent can pick up the call. So my connector exists already from Salesforce to AppFlow, and the only thing that I did was make sure that I authenticated. So when I created the connector, it just authenticated with Salesforce, and now I'm using the connector out of the box. So let me create a flow. I'm going to create a flow here. It's going to be, see, I have the step function here. That's a step function, a stepper here, which gives me the steps on how to configure this, right? So the first thing it tells me is connect your source and destination. Choose the object that you want to transfer from your favorite application. That's going to be a SaaS application, right? So I'm going to pick Salesforce. Then I'm going to map the fields. Now I could just propagate all the fields into my AppFlow, or I could filter them or transfer them. I could do anything I want. I could filter and validate, and then I could activate, run the flow manually, or I could schedule, depending on what I want to do. So here's the flow. Um, let me give this a flow name. Now, just so you know, I do have two buckets here. So one bucket, I'm going to pump data, Salesforce data, into into the bucket without filtering or modifying data. I want the contact objects as is going into this bucket. So this bucket's a little bit open, it's public. I just didn't want to have any problems with commissions and stuff. So I'm going to go back to AppFlow and I'm going to create a flow name and I'm going to create it. I'm going to call it this name so it's clear to me what we're doing. And really is a flow from Salesforce to S3. I'm going to say contact objects. Now, I haven't picked my object yet, but let's just see what happens. Now, there's a data encryption. There's a data encryption option, um, and there's a tag option. Now, notice with the encryption option, I could pick a KMS key. Um, I'm going to use a default key. Let me use a default key because I don't want to use my custom key, although I have a CRM custom key. I want AWS managed key to be used. This way, I don't have to manage my keys, etc. I'm going to add a new tag. I'm going to say the name is just so I could use a tag in case I want to. Okay, now the source name, I'm going to pick Salesforce. And here's where things get tricky. Now I have a couple of connections that I was testing, and I'm going to use this connection because I tested it and I know it works. This connection is used auth2 to connect to my Salesforce. So it knows how to connect to Salesforce. Now I'm going to pick my Salesforce objects. My Salesforce objects, I'm going to pick contact, this contact object, and it gives me some data transfer options. Automatic, it's a standard on volume of the data. And it turns out that the AppFlow is going to run every 5 minutes or something like that, pulling the records. But you can choose one of these two if you want to, depending on what you're doing. Now, for me, if I go and modify an object here, I just want those three records to come over to AppFlow, so I'm not doing anything that's ridiculous, that strenuous here. Now, here's my destination. So now I'm going to destinate it to S3. Now, S3 asks me which bucket, and I'm going to say I want it to go to this bucket. This is my unfiltered destination. So I named buckets. I'm not going to go and create new buckets. I emptied them out. So this is my first destination. And notice it's going into this folder. So didn't you might need this prefix. The prefix is defined by default. So my destination records are going into this bucket. So now I have glue options, which I like, but I don't want to mess with that right now because I want to keep this simple and I just want to get the records into AWS. So now I could run this on demand or run on a schedule. So I'm going to run it on demand. I'm going to choose next. And here's where it's asking me for the field mappings. So when I go here, I'm going to say map all fields directly because I want to do the easiest thing, and at the same time, I'm only dealing with 3 records, and I don't want to deal with mappings right now. I want everything that's in Salesforce. So it tells me all the fields that are getting mapped. Now, there might be a lot of fields here, though and this is probably not as efficient as you like, but that's what I'm doing. So it's 68 mappings, and I only have, like, if you look in my Salesforce, if you look in my record, I only have a certain number of attributes I defined, but who's to say I'm not going to add more attributes? See, for example, um, I could change this. So anyway, let me just go back to here and finish this, and I'm going to go next. And I could add filters and stuff, but I don't want to do that right now. Now here's my flow details. And I'm doing the simplest thing, so I'm not doing any filters or partitions or anything. So I just want to see how this tool works. My flow triggers on demand, and my destination is going to this S3 bucket. So let me finish and create the flow. Ah, my flow is created. Now I'm going to run my flow. Now notice in this bucket here, I don't really have anything yet. This is my first destination bucket. I don't have anything here. So what I'm going to do is Um, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run the flow. Okay, now I'm going to go to my bucket and then I'm going to see what transpired here. Oh, so it created a folder. Now, if I go into this folder and it created this is not a folder, right? I'm going to download this object. And now let's take a look at what is in there. So it looks like it's got three IDs, Kathy, Joey, and me, Stephen. And so it has the information associated with the user. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a JSON formatter. And I'm going to put my object in here. And I'm going to take a look at what my object looks like. So this is my Salesforce contact object. And so last name, first name, and then there's a name. So if I wanted to concatenate these two, I don't need to do it. The name is right here. So it's good to see what kind of records you're getting. Um, what I thought was interesting was the mailing address. This is my mailing address, and it's Connecticut. So I don't know how New York got in here. So let's see. Let me see if this is my mailing address. So I have, at the moment, I have no idea how that got screwed up. We'll take a look at that later. I don't recall that happening before, but we'll have to take a look at that. So mailing street, mailing city, mailing state. Looks like it merged two records, but something went wrong. Anyway, phone number, email address, everything looks correct. And the date it was modified, etc. So I could go in here, and I could change stuff. I could change the contacts and run the AppFlow again, and I'll get new set of data. Okay, so that's good. So that's the uh, let's end this video because it's getting a little long. I'm going to start another video to do something slightly different. Um, um, okay, let's move on.